Hello, welcome to our Startup with Ferris live stream. Thank you for tuning in. Folks, before we start today's subject, I don't think there has been a day that passed in the last few weeks that I didn't read or hear about a company laying people off. I was laid off once, and it was awful. So if you're watching or listening to this episode and you've been impacted by a layoff, or if you know someone who has been, we have several resources, videos, and article that can help. And if you're thinking of starting a business after a layoff, we just published an article on our website to get you started. So I'll leave a link in the description, and we have it actually on the screen if you happen to be watching. Now, if you have a very specific question related to bouncing back up after a layoff, feel free to leave me a comment here or direct message me or contact me through our website at startupwithferris.com. I'm happy to address and help in any way. And I know these are difficult times, but as so many people helped me when I was down and almost out to get back on my feet, helping others is my way of saying thank you. Now let's turn to our main topic. In speaking with business owners, new ones and those who are struggling, I get the sense that they're not sure what type of advice they need, but they don't ask help until it's too late in most cases. Recently, I came across an Inc. article that summarized some key findings from a small business owner survey. While 70% of business owners are not concerned about how long, how many hours they spend, how hard they have to work. It's part of the program. It's part of the package of starting a business. But 53% of them, they worry about doing it alone, doing it by themselves without any help. But here's the kicker. These business owners, these founders and entrepreneurs, 73% of them, they haven't sought help. The ironic thing is they're helping others. They're helping their staff, their customers, their partners. But when it comes time to helping themselves, they're not asking for help. Now, why is that? It could be because maybe their go-getterness, their get-it-done attitude, maybe the perceived cost of getting an advisor, maybe the lack of trust in advisors, or they're not sure whom to reach out to. So if you find yourself in this category, know that there's help out there, and a fair amount of it is available and accessible at no cost. And I'll show you some tips on how to find that help later in this episode. Now, I know some of you, cost is not an issue, and you're ready to hire someone. The issue is it's still difficult to know what type of advisors are available for you. The saying is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But I believe that for many things, you don't need to be fooled by life even once. You don't need to wait to make a mistake to learn from it. Most often than not, people have made mistakes and you can learn from them. If you're struggling, for example, with how to turn an idea into a business, or maybe in getting leads, or maybe deciding to roll out a new service, these are difficult questions, or anything in between, seek help from those who are more experienced. So today, I'll share 5 criteria and a bonus one where you can use these criteria to assess what kind of consultant, advisor, business coach, or professional service provider that you can, maybe you should actually talk to, so that you can make an informed decision about getting the help you need. Before we start, a few housekeeping items, and let's see also what questions we have so far. On the questions, let's see. We are, let me make sure I see it. If you're not paying an advisor, is the guidance still reliable? Short answer is yes, it is reliable if you are speaking with the right individual. So whether it's, I think, paid or whether it's paid or it's through maybe a referral or through your network, as I will describe in a little bit. It's really not an issue in my mind. It is the person you're speaking with. If they're professional, if they are um, if they're in this business of advising and coaching and mentoring, they should be able, they should be reliable if they have a track record of helping others. So I would say, in terms of vetting the person you're speaking with, is is as important if you're getting this for free, or as if you're paying money for that advice. So I think some of the criteria I'll go over today, and some of the things we covered actually last week. We talked a little bit about advisors, a whole lot about advisors last week. That will help you discern if you're speaking with the right advisor. So paid or not paid, I think it's not an issue in terms of reliability. You might not get as much help or all the help you need from a free resource, but reliability and credibility, all that, it depends. It's a function of vetting that individual that you are speaking with. Good. So in terms of housekeeping items, in the previous live stream, if you just joined us today, we covered who an advisor is, their role in helping you learn, and also the stakes of not learning from advisors. So if you haven't watched or listened to that video, to that episode, we have the link in the description. And next week, again, part of this series, we'll be talking about where to find advisors and when to talk to them and when not to talk to them, and conclude with a set of time-tested principles on working with advisors and coaches and consultants. And also, if you're watching or listening live or tuning in later, I would love to hear from you. Leave me a comment, submit it in the Google form we have in the description, or just send me an email, direct message me. Let me know about your small and big wins. I love to hear from our community. Let me know about your struggles or any other thoughts or questions you may have. I'm always super excited to hear from you all and help. Happy to be of help. And last but not least, on the logistics, a reminder: we have this live stream every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. So you can submit your questions at a time. We typically cover a business topic related to entrepreneurship, and then answer the questions that come our way. So let's jump right in. The 5 criteria and the bonus one. So we talk about advisors, coaches, consultants, mentors. They're a dime a dozen, but most come with a hefty fee. Seriously, there are many and many types of advisors and coaches and mentors. What I want to equip you with by the end of this episode is, I want you to have the criteria to discern, to have the knowledge to recognize what a specific advisor's strengths are, so you can either get their help, or look for someone else with strengths that match your needs. You do have to do some learning and some work, but then you can expedite your growth. You can expedite your learning by working with the right advisor. And remember, one of our Startup with Ferris mantras: learn and do, then seek help. So always, there's a bit of work involved here. So moving on to the first criterion: strategic versus tactical. So first, high-level thinking, strategic help. I mean, this is a common type of advisors: those who provide strategy consultation, those who provide strategy advice. And we hear the word advice, we hear the word strategy a lot. And for those of us maybe who are new to business, what do we mean by strategy? So, best source to learn about management, or one of the best sources, Harvard Business School. They say strategy planning is using available knowledge to document a business's intended direction. So you use what you know, and to document where you want the business to go. That's the business direction. And then in this process, you prioritize efforts, which service I want to offer, which projects I want to undertake. You allocate resources, budgets and staff and others. You align all the stakeholders, your employees, your vendors, your partners, all of that. You align all of that on your business goals, and ensure that these goals are not out of thin air. They're backed by data and sound reasoning. So that's strategy, that's strategic planning. And maybe a lot of buzzwords there. Maybe this is something, over folks, my head and other people's heads. Um, don't think that this is something that only applies to enterprise companies with complex structures and offerings. You can apply strategic planning to your own business, and you don't necessarily have to work with a McKinsey or a Deloitte. All entrepreneurs, all entrepreneurs need advice on big picture strategy. For example, early on, you might be asking, is this a good business idea? Is there a market for it? Those are some big questions. But let's say later, after you have some traction, you have sales, um, the strategic questions might be about scaling. Should I expand marketing? Should I hire a sales team? Should I expand my services horizontally or vertically? So these are examples of strategic, high level thinking that founders and business owners might need help with because maybe you haven't done it before. So that's on one side. The other type of advisor would be a tactical one. So think about it this way. You may have a clear roadmap. You've done, let's say you're in business for a year or two, and you have an understanding of what's to happen next year. So you put a strategy, a plan, but now you need help with a specific tool, or maybe a system you want to implement, or maybe some tactical problems you're facing. Then this is when you can seek someone for tactical advice. For example, if you have a lot of leads and it's a mess trying to manage all these leads and all these contacts and all these proposals you're submitting. So you heard this thing called CRM, a customer relationship management system. And you've watched some demos from different vendors, say Zoho, HubSpot, or Salesforce, and you liked one of them that say you want to implement. Let's say HubSpot. Again, we don't have any affiliate marketing, so I'm just mentioning these as an example. So let's say you want to work with HubSpot. So you'll need the help of a HubSpot expert. They will help you implement this system. They can save you time and provide guidance on maybe best practices and how to customize that system, that lead nurturing and CRM system for your business. So that's we talked about some strategic examples. We talked about some tactical examples, and it's really important for you to assess your own needs before you seek help. And I'll give you an example from me. Early on in my business, I was very, very tactical and very focused on execution. I wasn't the strategic type, but I knew when I met one of them. I had a good friend of mine, dear friend, who is a very successful strategy consultant. If we got into we're in a conversation, I'm going over maybe some challenges I have with a project. If I got into the details of implementing a project, he'd be lost and he'd struggle with offering any kind of advice. I'm not exaggerating. He's always strategic, thinking high level. But once we moved up the discussion to things like, let's talk about our 2 or 3 or 5 year business objectives, or maybe we talked about internal and external factors influencing the company direction, or maybe let's do a SWOT analysis or other strategic concepts. He'd be dropping pearls of wisdom, and I'd be taking copious notes and can barely catch up with him. So you'll once you speak with someone who's into strategy, they use maybe certain buzzwords, but just sometimes that's just how they think. So assess your needs, and what they are at this time, and think: do you have a lot of big picture questions, or do you need a lot of help with tactical work? So that's again something for you to decide, and I'll give you a couple of tactical tips here. You don't have to hire right away. As a matter of fact, don't hire right away. Don't just go. Your friend's cousin said, "Hey, Joe or Jane, they're amazing strategy consultants. Hire them." No. Do your due diligence. It's your business. And as we said in promoting this episode, free before paid. So go through your network and speak with a couple of people the ones who maybe one who has done some strategic advice and work, and some who has done technical work, and share with them where you are on your journey and get their input. So that's one thing. And then before you hire, still reach to three different types, or three different advisors and coaches. Hopefully in your network, people can recommend you folks, especially people who know you and they care about you and care for you. They'll probably make a better recommendation. And then ask these advisors, these three advisors, as I said, ask them direct questions on how they helped others in similar situations like yours, and then speak with these people that whom the advisors have helped. This way, you do the right thing for your business. Budget could be tight initially, might be bootstrapping. Even if you have a lot of money, you want to be diligent in how you spend your time and money. So do this. Talk to your network, talk to various advisors, and then make a decision to bring someone on to help you on a specific, maybe strategic initiative or something very tactical. And if you're looking for tips and tactics and strategies, don't forget to sign up with our newsletter, the Daily Advisor. We send it every day, Monday through Friday, where we offer uh, a lot of amazing information on helping founders and those who want to be founders on how to build and grow their businesses to 7 and 8 figures. So that was on criteria number one, strategic and tactical. Um, so I have a comment here from on YouTube from Drewer. Ferris, I applaud all the effort you put into your channel, my man. So thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm happy. I'm happy to be of help. A lot of, as I always say, and maybe this is like a broken record, but I think it's important for people to know. A lot of people have helped me along the way, and this is my way of saying thank you to all to the folks out there. Cool. Number two criterion here, the second criterion: hands off versus hands on. And there might be some parallels between that and talking about strategy and tactics. So I'll get you thinking a little bit there to identify those parallels. But a hands-on advisor, think of them as they'll be more involved in implementation, in maybe data gathering, in any type of work you're doing. Whereas a hands-off advisor may only meet with you and give you maybe some quick advice, or maybe they will give you a specific guidance, including a document they produce for you or a plan. But you'll be responsible for the implementation. So let me walk you through an example. If you're new to sales, let's say the concept of marketing and sales funnels. You have no idea what that is, but you got to sell. As an entrepreneur, you got to be out there knocking on doors. There are no shortcuts, folks. There are no shortcuts. You got to do it. So if you have no idea about sales funnels and how to nurture leads, you can hire someone to map the various steps of these funnels for your company, because there are standards, there are common steps in any sales funnel. And we have a video, the ultimate guide to sales funnels for services and consulting businesses. Excuse me, and I covered a framework there, but you still can customize that for your business. So you can hire someone to educate you on this concept, to help you, how to generate awareness. What is it that you do when you introduce yourself to a customer, and how you capture that lead, how you nurture them, how you educate them, and move them closer to buying from you. So that's a hands-off advisor would come in and develop the sales funnel for you. They'll document the inputs and the requirements to move from one stage to another. And they probably, and if they're a good consultant, they'll leave behind a very valuable asset and maybe some flow charts. Their work ends there. That's a hands-off consultant. And there's nothing wrong with that. So sometimes I hear from founders, I hired such and such, and they had 5-star reviews or this and that, but then they left me with this strategy document, and I'm now on my own to implement. Well, my friend, maybe that's what you signed up for. They're the hands-off type, right? So So a hands-on, and we'll talk about selecting the right advisor in a second, but a hands-on advisor for the same scope in terms of sales, excuse me, they can take that document and work with you, say daily or weekly for a few weeks. And then they help you. Okay, here's how you track the leads that you're capturing. Here, how you examine, they can help you examine how you're nurturing the leads and offer some advice. They can potentially do some hand holding. They might, for example, sit in on a few sales calls and identify how you can do a better job and how you can document all of that in your CRM or on a basic Google sheet if you don't have CRM yet. So that's the difference between someone coming in and listening to you, understanding the challenge, and producing a document, a plan, and then you implement, versus someone who will actually be there with you as you implement, or they'll implement for you. So I'll share some examples on and tips on selecting the right advisor. So if you're looking for a hands-off advisor, one criteria here is look for someone who has done a ton of hands-on experience. Someone cannot be hands-off and it cannot offer, in my mind, solid advice if they haven't done the work themselves. And we'll talk about this in the next criteria about sort of theory versus practice. So you're hiring this hands-off person because you want to implement, you have the bandwidth, but maybe you don't know, you want to know the how, you don't know the what, so they can help you answer the what. Maybe you don't have a budget to hire someone to implement for you. And maybe this area of the business is really, really strategic. It's core to what you're doing. So you want to know the inside, you want to know it inside out. So that's, again, understanding what a hands-off consultant would do versus a hands-on. And I'll give you another example here. In one of our businesses, we're expanding overseas. We didn't know the local market that well, and we wanted to expedite our learning. So we found a strategic advisor, more on the business development side, and he had a proven track record in business development, and we paid them handsomely uh, to help us develop that go-to-market plan. We know how to sell. We know how to market. We know how to sell. We're doing really well here in North America. Now we're going into a new market. We're selling the same thing, but we don't know how to market and sell there. So investing in an advisor who can help us expedite that learning and show us all the roadblocks and how to navigate those roadblocks was really essential. So also they provided some amazing input on which sectors to work with, because what we would call, at that time we were working with like Fortune 1000, Fortune 100 here in the US and Canada. Over there, the strategy was a bit different because we're new to that market. Again, so invaluable advice we got. And then we told them up front, once you help us with the strategy, we will want to do everything ourselves because we're investing in this market, in that market, and we want to know everything about it, and we want to be out there. So those are some examples on a hands-off versus a hands-on advisor. Again, I'm not saying one is better than another, and actually in all of the criteria, the 5 ones and the bonus one, it's really, I want you to think of your own needs, assess your own needs. And sometimes when you start a business, or even if you've been in business for a few years and you're struggling, sometimes you don't even need what you know. You don't know what you need. And in those conversations, again, free before paid, talk to your network, leverage your network, because you can get a lot. Obviously, you can watch things on YouTube. You can watch our channel. I'd love for you to subscribe and hit the like button if you're liking this content. But there's a lot of help out there. So do some learning on your own. Speak with people that you've worked, ex-colleagues, ex-customers, ex-vendors, ex-partners, people in your family, maybe in your neighborhood. Get to know, put that time to get that free advice before you invest in paid advice. All right. Before we go to criterion number 3, let's look at the questions. Is a tactical advisor always a hands-on advisor? Not necessarily. So hands-on, and again, there might be, like everything in life, it's not black and white. There's some overlap here. But a tactical advisor, for let's say, use the CRM example. Someone can, for example, tell you exactly what you need to do tactically. Like, for example, naming convention for your leads and naming conventions for your contacts, and they can give you the ins and outs of what to do in the CRM, so you can customize it for your own need. But they might not be offering that as a service. So I think you can have someone who's hands off. It's sort of like, if I were to put a matrix, you can have someone who's hands off and does strategic, give you strategic. Sorry, you can have someone, to your question, who is tactical and hands on, and you can have someone who's really tactical. They know the ins and outs of any system, and they can just give you the details of what you need to do yourself. So again, look for your needs, and then find someone who matches that. And the good thing about people a lot of times ask me, is it harder now or harder in the past when we started our first business maybe 20 years ago or so? I always say now there are a lot more resources. So you can go on Upwork, you can go on GLG, you can go on Fiverr. There's a lot of, and you can invest a couple $100 and speak with someone about any and all the topics and all the subjects where you have subject matter experts, and pick their brains. So I think these days you can, again, free or very inexpensively speak with someone about the issues you're facing, initially to help you document your requirements. Just like buying a car, if you have a family, you need a larger car. If you have yourself and maybe in the midlife crisis, you want to get that sports car, you're looking for a sports car, right? So you have to define your requirements. You have to articulate what you're looking for. You can't just go to a dealership and say, I want to buy a car. Same thing in business. If you want to get the best advice, if you want to get the best vendor, if you want to get the best type of help, you have to do a bit of an assessment. You have to speak with others to help you document, articulate your needs, and then go get the right help for that. Cool. Good question. Hopefully I didn't confuse you with the 2x2 matrix there. All right. Criterion number 3. A practitioner. So when you're looking for an advisor, for a coach, look for practitioner versus an academic or a theorist. As I would say. Love people in academia. I don't mean it in that sense. So those who are actually doing the work today, they're like practitioners, like they're in the work day to day. And those who maybe again they're more, they've studied management theories, and they've studied marketing planning and marketing strategy, and they're really not today. They're not in the work doing the heavy lifting. So I think it's important to when I say practitioner, think of a business owner in your sector or in other sectors, but let's say a business owner who's going through very similar struggles to what you're going through, or maybe they're going through similar successes. We don't only have to talk about struggles. So think of practitioners, those who are in the business, working day in, day out, and seeing the nuance of issues, and they're facing maybe issues with accounting, with collection, maybe they're facing issues with customer satisfaction. So look for those who are, they have experience in your pain points and from real life experience, and those are the ones I think that will give you that very practical advice that you need right away. Now, the distinction is important because I've seen it where, and we talked about this last week, that a lot of times you go on YouTube or you talk to people, and you're very impressed by someone who talks about different ways to organize a company, and the different management, the different organizational structure, or the pros and cons of this and that, and they speak very confidently. In our culture, if someone asserts themselves and they speak confidently, then yeah, we believe they're an expert. it's sometimes it's not the case. I'm not saying everyone who speaks confidently and everyone who speaks, about theories that they're charlatan, but I think I want you to be aware. Don't be don't be don't be sort of over impressed by the way they're presenting and the buzzword they're sharing with you. You want to again learn. I think I'm what I'm emphasizing here is that learn from those learn from those who have studied structures and systems and theories, because that will help you plan when you're thinking, especially if you're doing strategic planning. If you've grown, let's say you used to be by yourself, now let's say there's 7 or 8 of you, and now none of the processes that you have work anymore because they're people who need to do sales and marketing and accounting and used to do that all on your on by yourself. So you need maybe someone who would come and tell you, when companies go from 5 people to 10 people, here are some ways to manage that growth. Theories and big thinking is really helpful there. But how to improve on, for example, your collection. Customers are not paying you, and customers are demanding some crazy payment terms. They want to pay you net 90 or net 120. I had a customer, Fortune 500. They force us to agree to net 120. That means they'll pay us 120 days after we deliver the work. That's a different story. But someone who is going through those same pains might give you very, very specific advice that someone who has studied theories and structures and systems might not be able to. And I'll give you an example as well. In, let's say, project management, it's a common area that at one point in your growth that you need to invest in. So let's say it's your first year in business and you have a few team members and you have a lot of clients now, several clients maybe, and it's now time to hire that project manager, as your deliverables and your dependencies and everything is just slipping through the cracks, and it's impacting your ability to deliver and collect money and make sure you have happy clients. So you can hire someone who has, for example, they've studied with the Project Management Institute, PMI, and they have the certifications, and they understand the concept of scoping and costing and scheduling and risk assessment best practices, so that they can give you maybe a roadmap on project management. And that might be helpful if you're experiencing massive growth and you really need to invest in hiring several project managers at once. And I remember in one of our startups, that was a product startup actually, where we went from no project managers to a team of 3. We had a lot of funding at the time, and we were just growing rapidly. And we lost track of things. So we needed a team of project managers. And it would have been helpful to me at the time. I was director or VP at the time. If I had learned a bit more about just how to establish a project management practice. Again, that might not be very applicable to a business owner who's just starting, but I want you to get the idea of someone sort of who studied systems and structures where they can help you. Because who knows, you might tap into a gold mine and you're experiencing massive growth and you might need help in a specific area. Maybe you have to hire 3 or 4 salespeople, and then how to manage a sales team is something that you haven't done. So someone who can come in and they can talk to you about different ways, maybe you structure compensation from a system perspective, might be super helpful. So that's not the practitioner type. That's more of sort of the theorist type. But then back to the project management example, if you need help in just managing projects like right away, and you need maybe some tips on how to do proper account management, how to define the scope and the responsibility of the client, of the responsibilities of the client and responsibility for your company, then someone who does project management day in, day out, they can probably come in and help you right away. So again, different types of knowledge, you apply it differently at different times, different times of, depending on your growth and also depending on the size of your organization. So keep that in mind, that, assess your needs. It's probably, hear me say this a lot of time, but before you hire, before you seek the help of a consultant, before you make major decisions, it's important to seek advice. It's important to ask those who have been to where you want to go. It will save you a lot of time and money and a lot of gray hair. Trust me, I speak from experience. So that was the third criterion. Let's go to the fourth one, and then I think we'll pause for some questions or if you have any comments. And again, thank you for those who are tuning in. And if you happen to be listening to this or watching this later, again, would love to hear from you. So leave us a comment. If it's something personal or something that you'd rather it stays anonymous, just send me an email, direct message me. We'll keep it all confidential, and we'll happy to address the questions in these weekly live stream that we have every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. The fourth criterion is what I call a systematic and structure type of advisor versus the intuitive and the creative type. In a way, this division is based on, I would say, both your personality and the personality of the specific advisor you're hiring. This is especially important if you plan on working with an advisor for a long period of time. So say you're the structured type. You live and die by checklists. You like to keep things in order, and you're just very systematic in everything you do. Every little thing is planned in a clear-cut way. That's just your personality. Now, imagine working with an advisor who's the opposite. She or he, they're not very structured. They thrive on ambiguity, instability, quick changes. They just love to dive straight into the deep end and then find their way to the top, sort of in a very unstructured fashion. I mean, if you're the structured type and you hire someone who's more of sort of the intuitive, creative, and maybe this is not the exact opposite of a structured, but that's what I was thinking about when I was thinking about this criterion. I mean, if you hire someone like that, it's gonna drive you nuts. You might not be able to benefit from any of their guidance because it's gonna cause you a whole lot of stress just to keep up with them. So assess what kind of personality and business culture you have. You can ask your loved ones, you can ask your spouse, your significant other, you can ask your close friends. They'll tell you what your personality, or you can go on and do the Myers-Briggs test, or you can do what's the other one that I like, the strength finder one, and you'll find more about yourself, which is important in business. We'll talk about this later, because you got to know your strength and you got to know the areas you have to improve on. But know your own personality, and then when you're looking for an advisor, make sure it's someone you can work with and someone that they match your personality. This may be more of an art than a science, but I've had it before where someone is super structured and I need help right away, and I needed them to sort of jump in head first and help me help me figure out what's going on. A system way of doing things just wasn't the right advice for me at the time. So again, assess the personality, your personality, and that of the other person, and you can tell from the way they pitch to you, the way they talk to you, the way they think of problems. I think that those would be signs for you to know, to pick on. Now, with that in mind, one pro tip, and this is again on this channel, my commitment is to offer honest, pragmatic, practical advice. So no sugarcoating. So if you're serious about mastery of your craft, if you want to be a top consultant, a top service provider, you can't be too picky in who you choose to learn from. So with everything I said already, especially about personality, if you're serious about mastery, you got to be like a sponge. You got to absorb everything that comes your way, the good stuff, and filter out the bad stuff. So you might be in a need, and the advisor, the consultant, the mentor that you happen to come across, whether it's paid or for free, um, their personality might be at odds with yours, but if they have the knowledge, the experience, maybe the wisdom that you could benefit from, my advice to you is adapt and learn from them. You're the student. Be patient. Uh, Take what's beneficial and leave what's not. So we come in, we sometimes you learn from a competitor. Sometimes you have to pick up the phone and call a competitor. And I've done it, and it was really awkward, but it was an important situation, and it was important to pick up the phone and have that call. Or sometimes you have a difficult discussion with a client. So in business and entrepreneurship, we come into a lot of awkward situations, a lot of situations where we're not comfortable, or the people we are working with, just the chemistry is not there. So if you're really serious about mastery of your domain, you just got to be like a sponge, as I said, and learn from whomever, especially in times where you have like urgent need and you need to do something like right away. So you really can't afford to be too picky. You'll lose out. But if you're planning, let's say for the next quarter or for the next year, I really need help in marketing, and I need someone who will help me put a marketing strategy together, then you have time to pick the right advisor for you. So let me pause for a question, and then we go to our fifth criterion, and then the bonus one. Let's see, what do we have? Has an advisor ever told you something that turned out to be a bad advice? Short answer is yes. And easy to blame others, easy to point the finger. As Jim Collins said, he said, when things go bad, you should look in the mirror. And when things go well, look out the window. So always assess what could I have done better. So an example, there are two types, I think, in terms of someone who gave me an advice and it turned out to be a bad advice. One is if they knew what they're doing, but they didn't know a lot about me and my situation. So that could be someone that is trustworthy, is credible. They know what they're talking about. They just don't know a lot about your situation. They don't know about what you're going through. So I'll give you an example. Like my advice typically to entrepreneurs is, if you're serious about growth, you can't do it with 40 hours a week. No shortcuts. It doesn't work. You got to put in a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of resources. So and at one time, if in certain time points in life, let's say you're caring for aging parents, or you have a sick child, or you have some mental health issues you're going through, or maybe a divorce you're going through, this will not be the time to focus on starting a new business, or in most cases, or maybe launching a new service, because you're just so occupied with life outside of business. So sometimes, someone said, yeah, you come in and you got to do all this hard work. And at the time, I just couldn't. I'm a big believer in hard work. My motto in life is work hard, play hard. But in at that specific moment, I just could not take on this opportunity to expand the business, because I had certain personal things to take care of. So that's one part of it. The other part is when you get advice from an advisor, because they don't know what they're talking about. They're just, and that's on me, because I did not do the proper vetting. And that's why what I tell everyone, learn from my mistakes, learn from the mistakes of the founders that I speak with, and then I share those mistakes here with folks, without judging, without shaming anyone. But the idea is, if you're not vetting, if I go and I hired someone, without not mentioning names, it was a PR company, and at the end of this whole engagement, it was a three-month engagement. The one thing I got out of it, and it was costly at the time for us, is that I had to change my profile picture. That's why we were not getting mentions in the media. We're not getting calls to speak at conferences, because I didn't have a smiley face on my on my on my profile. That was good advice. I the picture could have been better. I could have a bigger smile, but I mean that's like 1% of what else was needed, or maybe 10%. So we invested heavily, and again, I don't like to blame the vendor, the person we hired. Maybe we had different expectations. That's many years ago, but I don't think it was the right company for us at the time. So yes, you will get some bad advice, and what's that saying is good good judgment comes from experience, and then experience comes from bad judgment. So we sometimes just have to make decisions and learn from those decisions, and then move on. And again, seeking the help of advisors will help you expedite that learning and avoid a lot of those mistakes. Good question. Moving on to criteria number 5, and that is on your needs as an entrepreneur in early stage versus late stage. Your need for help and for advisors will change depending on the various stages your business may go through. Your challenges as someone who maybe just started or maybe just about to start, and someone who is now 1 or 2 years in the business and they can't grow sales, those challenges are completely different. If you're struggling and you now need to pivot to something completely different, those are different challenges. So look for advisors who specialize and do a lot of work in helping people in your stage of growth. So it's important to know that you'd want to seek advice from those who have achieved the success you aspire to achieve, especially with experience in similar business models. So if you have a recurring revenue model and you want to scale that, getting help from someone who has been very successful in selling project-based, like the revenue models are maybe project-based. You scope a project, you sell it, you deliver it, you get paid. There's no recurring revenue. So if you're scaling a recurring revenue model business, you need the help from someone who does that. And always, this is the mantra that we have. We have a number of mantras here at Startup with Ferris, is only take advice from those who have been to where you want to go. So why am I saying this? Because if these people who are you seeking their help, if they're very far removed from your stage, the stage of business you're in, they might not be the best teachers. If you're just getting into an art, for example, and I know that from martial arts and other things I do, you don't need a world-class master to teach you the basics. As a matter of fact, some of the world-class masters might be so advanced, you might not be able to learn from them, or they might not be able to relate to your struggles. So it is sort of a double-edged sword here. If you have those who have been to where you want to go, naturally, they're far removed from where you are. So you can learn from them maybe on the roadblocks they have experienced, that you can maybe learn from them how they dealt with external factors that hit their business on their journey. Those probably, there are a lot of commonalities in that. But in terms of getting help at the specific stage of the business, in this current environment, maybe in a specific sector, maybe in a specific company size that you're pitching, I think finding someone who works in supporting founders like you in that stage will probably give you good bang for the buck. So again, these are not mutually exclusive. If someone who, for example, who has been to where you want to go and is very established now, and they happen to be working with a lot of people in your space, you can learn from them as well. So think of everything I've covered so far in these 5 criteria, and the 6th one, the bonus one, is not black and white, is not sort of one or another. It's more, think of it as a continuum with varying degrees between the 2 ends of the spectrum. So an advisor might be able to provide strategic and tactical advice, but maybe the intensity of their talent is of their strategic talent, and the expertise in strategy is stronger than their tactical one. Again, the homework is for you, that it is on you to assess and ask direct and pointed questions so that you make sure you get the right help. So again, keep that idea in mind as you're assessing your needs for these advisors. And now let's go to the bonus criterion number 6, experience versus resources. And again, we'll be wrapping up here in the next maybe 10 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit a comment, or you can also submit a comment in the Google form we have in the description, or feel free to direct message me. Happy to answer there. But in terms of experience and resources, in my opinion, the crux of seeking help from an advisor revolves around receiving either experience, learn about their experience, or resources. And in terms of experience, advisors provide either technical know-how or soft skills. On the technical know-how, think of it as maybe some technical experience in a niche, some knowledge in a domain that you're in. It could be accounting, it could be coaching, it could be HR consulting, it could be elderly care. So they really know that domain really well. So you can learn from them that way, about that domain. Now, the non-technical skills, and for all of you entrepreneurs out there and want to be entrepreneurs, non-technical skills are as important as technical skills. So if you think, if you need, for example, help in maybe public speaking, in pitching, in listening, the art of listening is going to be key in selling. Maybe time management, all of that. Maybe also mindset. Some advisors, some people with experience can provide coaching to tackle problems when they arise. And I can tell you, it's not if they arise, it's when they arise, because they will inevitably arise. So advisors can help you in the technical aspect of things, in your domain of service, of work, and also in these soft skills. So another way to think of advisors is to think if you want to prioritize some sort of experience or a certain type of resource. So that's on experience. On resource, they can have any advisor, anyone who's been around the block for a number of years and they've tasted success. You can tap into their connections, their network, and also funding. So those who have tasted success, those who have been to where you want to go, those advisors and coaches, they have connections, because that's what it took to be successful. No one does it on their own. There's no self-made whatever. It just, some of us have to struggle more. Some of us have to. We don't have as much scaffolding as others. That's noted. No disagreement there. But we all use the help. We all leverage. We all tap into the help of others. So these advisors have been in the trenches, and then on their journeys towards building a strong business, they've established a network of resources that they've relied on. This network, for example, could be the right type of attorney that you need for a specific issue. It could be the right marketer that you need for a specific channel or a campaign, or maybe it could be the best sales technology to use for your business. So again, these advisors, they can bring you that experience, and they can bring you, in addition to the experience, they can bring you access to these resources. Now, the second type of resource is money. When you start a business, funding is important. Lack of funding or concern of not making money and not selling, and this whole area of finance and funding, and how you make sure you have enough money to grow the business, it is one of the main reasons why people are scared or fearful of starting a business. So some advisors might be able to help in terms of funding in two ways at least. One, in terms of they might have sold their own businesses and have access to money, and also they can point you to different types of funds and the pros and cons of maybe working with friends and family versus maybe like an angel investor versus maybe a venture capitalist, or depending on the business you're in. So to summarize here, with the help of advisors, you get access to first experience, whether in terms of hard or soft skills, and second, resources, whether in terms of their network or funding. Now, remember that these six criteria that we covered, that are, like I said earlier, they live maybe on a spectrum, and you might not find someone who's 100% strategic and 100% tactical. The point that I want you to leave you with here as we wrap up here, I think we have one more question and then we wrap it up, is I want you to be able to recognize what you need help in, and then I want you to be able to vet, to recognize the strength of an advisor, so this way you can get the right help from the right person and expedite that path, your road to growth. All right, we have a question. Is it easier to connect with advisors if you're in Silicon Valley? No. There's a lot of amazing talent in Silicon Valley. I think if you're in the tech scene and if you are looking for traditional, venture for VCs for venture capital money, and you want to talk to a lot of tech founders, Silicon Valley is the place to go. You get other places, Austin, other places as well. But I think these days, especially with the remote workforce and the way we work these days, you can tap into advisors everywhere. So I wouldn't say it's easier to connect with advisors in Silicon Valley. I think if you're in tech and if you're in you want to have the sort of the next Uber or the next DoorDash, or you're building the next Salesforce, and you rely on the talent pool, the technical talent pool, the product management talent pool, and then access to funding and other resources. Obviously, Silicon Valley is the place to be. But for the rest of us, those who are focused on building services business, consulting businesses, there are a whole lot of advisors everywhere, and I mean it, like globally, locally, regionally, nationally, and globally. So look at these criteria that we have covered today, and find the person. I think irrespective of where they're at. Now, of course, if you sell a service that's unique to your zip code or to something that's very localized, so having someone with experience in your market is definitely a plus. It should be on your list of things to look for when you're vetting. Good. But happy happy to have a very specific question about your startup, your company, and I might be able to point you in the right direction here. And so there are a lot of amazing people in Silicon Valley who've done great work in services as well. So now that you understand the broad things an advisor can offer, I want to conclude today's session with a framework that I have, as we always do. In a lot of sessions, we have a framework for you to use to make the right decision. Again, you might see some distinct titles and roles for what I've been saying, the word advisor. If you search online, you'll see many illustrations, different tables and different graphs and different ways to tell you what a coach is and what a consultant is and what maybe an advisor or a mentor is. So those are all, I think there are a lot of good stuff out there, but I don't want you to be stuck on the definition or the title or the role. I want you to, again, use, because most of us, we use these interchangeably. So don't get stuck on the titles. I want you to focus on your need. So let's look at this. If you look here in this table that we have on the screen. And then for those of you who are not watching but listening now or later, we'll share the link to this table. But think of this, if you look at it in terms of the columns, I have advisor, consultant, mentor, business coach. And then in terms of rows, I put together a number of factors to consider: time frame, level of involvement, personal or business only, if you need help, personal help, and then core offering, and then approach. So I won't go over every cell in this table, but just to give you a flavor of identifying what potentially could be called as a coach. There are people, amazing business coaches out there. So for example, I'll just use, coach here. Uh, Potentially that can help you in terms of personal or business. They can help you with personal goals and business goals. Someone who's maybe an advisor in funding is going to help you, or let's say an advisor in marketing. They're not going to talk about your personal goals. They're focused on marketing. So that's the way to use this framework, is look at those factors, the time frame of involvement. Are you looking for something short term? A consultant might be a good fit. You're looking for something maybe long term, an advisor. You can have maybe a group of advisors as a sort of a board for your business. Although formal boards are not common for small businesses, but you can have a board of advisors. So that would be more like long term, or maybe a mentor could be a long term, but a consultant typically they come in and out. For example, you look at the approach of working with an advisor. It could be someone who provide guidance and leverage resources, whereas a mentor, they will observe what you're doing. They provide support. They provide specific guidance. They're there for you, maybe week in, week out. So look at these 5 categories, and then look at your needs and your personality. If you're the type where you need someone to meet with you every Monday morning and say, what are the goals for this week? If that's sort of, you need to pay someone to be your accountability partner, then maybe a coach, a mentor would be a better fit for you. If you're looking for strategic advice, maybe again, an advisor would be more of a fit. Again, a lot of us use these terms interchangeably, so I don't want to confuse you. I've used the word advisor in a way loosely this whole session and in this series, but I want to give you the parameters to help you again find what you think is a best fit for you, especially if you're searching online and looking for people who, for example, call themselves coaches, and they work in a certain way, and I want you to be aware of that. So that's on that table, and that's basically the end of our session today. I really appreciate you tuning in. As I said earlier, we covered these 6 criteria to help you identify the right advisor for you. And what I want to underscore, what I want to highlight is you have access to a lot of free resources within your network. You can tap into your ex-colleagues, maybe college roommates or folks that you went to school with. You can talk to people in your neighborhood, in your family, but reach out to people first before you hire someone. Do your vetting, search online, follow this channel, subscribe to our newsletter, The Daily Advisor, and you'll hopefully get tips and tactics and strategies on how to build and grow that business of yours to 7 and 8 figures. So thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next time.